It's truly one of the worst films that I have seen in the cinema. Today I'm going to be holding my phone to see if I can record better sound quality than I normally do, and I'm also going to be reviewing the much anticipated sequel to Book Club the Next Chapter. I had not seen the first Book Club, so I watched that film in preparation for seeing this film. I try and go into most films with an open mind, but I was genuinely very surprised at how much I enjoyed Book Club. The first film is about 4 older female friends played by Mary Steenburgen, Jane Fonda, Diane Keaton, and Candice Bergen. They have a book club. They decide to read 50 Shades of Grey, and it sort of inspires them to reignite their connection with their own sexuality. For 3 of them at least, Jane Fonda's character was already very connected with her sexuality, but she bumps into an old lover and they sort of rekindle their romance, and she has to learn that it's okay to actually be in love with someone. Films about old people doing antics is such a genre. What often really annoys me about these films is that I feel like they patronize their older characters and sort of infantilize them, which I find really odd because these films are intended for an audience of that age. But what I loved about Book Club is that it didn't do that at all, and in fact a big theme of the film, especially for Diane Keaton's character, is that older women deserve agency. Everything was very nicely resolved in Book Club, so I couldn't possibly imagine what they could be up to in Book Club the Next Chapter, aside from the fact that they go to Italy. Turns out the trip to Italy is a bachelorette party for Jane Fonda, as she is about to marry the man that she rekindled her relationship with in the last film. They still have their book club. The book they're reading is The Alchemist. I have not read that book. Apparently it's a lot about signs and signs from the universe, and so that becomes a bit of a running theme in a more subversive way than you might expect, which I was pleased about. But they barely do any reading. You're mainly just watching these 4 women have a really great holiday, and somehow it's still entertaining. Like, these women are so rich. There's one point where their luggage gets stolen, and yet the next day they're all wearing amazing new outfits, just able to buy a whole new wardrobe, and that's just brushed over. But I feel like the film's a little bit self-aware about that as well. Like, it's very aware that these characters are just super wealthy. Jobs that they do indicate that they would be wealthy as well, or the jobs that they've retired from, I should say. So you go in knowing that it's not going to be representative of your average senior. The thing I really loved about the first film was that none of the drama came out of their friendship. In fact, the film was kind of more about their relationships with men because they needed some drama somewhere, so that's where the cause of drama came from. Their friendship that they've had for like 20 years is the thing that is solid and stable in their lives, which I really loved. And that kind of continues here, only we actually get to see them interact way more, which is really lovely. I also found the script quite well written. I think the script is very clearly written for each actor. It really suits the individual personalities of each actor, and they're so obsessed with putting in a funny quip that they'll actually stop like a dramatic scene just for one of the other characters to come in and say something silly, and that can be kind of distracting, but it still made me laugh so much, and I genuinely found it really funny, both the first film and this one. There's always a worry that a sequel is going to denigrate in quality, but I do think that this film, while I don't think the plot as such is particularly strong, the script is still just as funny and enjoyable to me. The theme of this film is kind of about choosing your own destiny, you know, the fact that everything should be a choice, who you marry should be a choice, whether you don't want to get married should be a choice. And I think those themes really resonate, obviously, for women who are in their 70s. I think Jane Fonda might be in her 80s, because they would have been young women in a time when it would have been expected for them to get married. For some of these women, it's almost like they're able to live out their true selves in older life as opposed to when they were younger, because they just weren't able to push through those societal norms in a way. The film is so intent on making sure that their friendship is solid throughout, is the core part of the film, and it just made me so jealous. I am so desperate to have that kind of group of female friends. I have lots of lovely individual female friends, but I don't have like a solid group. I can only hope by the time I'm that age, I will have a group like that to have a book club with and go to Italy with. So I would highly recommend Book Club the Next Chapter. I would recommend watching the first one first and then watching this one, because I think they do follow on from each other, and the first one gives you a taste for the second one. So if you don't like the first one, which is currently on Netflix, at least in Australia, then don't go see the second one, obviously. But these films do exactly what they say on the tin. but really well. I just found it delightful and hilarious the whole way through. Just such a joyful, escapist experience because of the themes of friendship and because of how beautiful the scenery in Italy is, but also because it's just such a joy to see women being funny on screen. Hello, it's obviously a few days later, and I have now seen the second film that I want to review this week. It is called Love Again. This is a new rom-com starring Priyanka Chopra and Sam Heughan from Outlander fame, and is actually based on a German film, which I have not seen. Right at the beginning of the film, Priyanka Chopra is madly in love with her boyfriend, who is not Sam Heughan. This boyfriend dies very tragically, and we flash forward 2 years to see that she has been living back with her parents and is still going through the grieving process. Her sister persuades her to move back to New York and try and pick up her life again. She is the author and illustrator of some very famous children's books, and her publisher has kind of given her a bit of a deadline as well to finally finish her latest book in the series. You then also have Sam Heughan, who is a music journalist, and everyone at his work gets work phones, and his phone happens to have the same number as Priyanka Chopra's dead boyfriend's phone. To make herself feel better, she starts texting that number, and Sam Heughan, instead of responding back and informing the person that he now has this phone number, he just lets the text happen and decides that he's in love with this person and automatically decides that she is a she, and then does some very strange stalking behavior to try and find the person behind the phone number. Rom-coms very often have ridiculous plots, and you very often just brush over that fact because you just want to enjoy how charming they are, or the love story, or the chemistry between the two leads. Unfortunately, the insane plotline is probably the best part of this film, because it's truly one of the worst films that I have seen in the cinema, I think. If this had been on Netflix, was marketed as one of Netflix's particularly shoddy rom-coms, then it would have been perfectly acceptable. There's so many things insane about this film that I actually don't know where to begin. I guess firstly, starting with Sam Heughan. I have never seen Outlander, so I didn't know what he was like as an actor. My sister, who came with me, informed me that his character in that show is very silent and brooding, and I can see how that would be a benefit to him. It was almost like the director had said to him, please play this character like he has an IQ of 0. He just seemed so dumb and stupid, and it wasn't in a charming way. He is very handsome and seems very sweet in a way, but is not a good enough actor to get around the fact that the things that he's doing are absolutely insane. One that I haven't already mentioned is that he, as part of his job, is tasked to go and interview Celine Dion because she is just about to go on a tour around America. He doesn't particularly like her music and so comes across as rude at first. But then during their one-on-one interview, for some reason that turns into a therapy session and Celine Dion becomes his personal life coach. I just like to point out also that, and this is something I read on Letterboxd, that Celine Dion is playing herself and was bad at that. She was a bad actor playing herself, which is quite an achievement, maybe. Priyanka Chopra is not terrible. She is such a shell of a character that there's just really nothing for her to do with this character, and her chemistry with Sam Heughan seems very friendly. It seems like they get along, but it certainly doesn't come across as this ultimate love story that you need it to be. The other particularly bizarre part about this film is that it's meant to be set in New York, and it's so clearly filmed in London. I haven't even been to London yet, and I still could tell that it was filmed in London. It's a really great film if you're someone like me who very much enjoys spotting British actors in bit parts, aside from Nick Jonas, who does make a small cameo, who actually manages to do a more entertaining performance in about 5 minutes that he's on screen. Russell Tovey and Lydia West were a particular highlight as Sam Heughan's work colleagues, especially Russell Tovey doing the most insane American accent. Those two are both in the Russell T Davies show Years and Years, which is a really good show, and Lydia West was also in It's a Sin, which is Russell T Davies' last show that he did about the AIDS crisis in Britain. They're both really good actors, and they do really make the most of every minute they're on screen and do make a really good double act. Definitely the highlight of the film for me. And to top it all off, the script is just so badly written. None of the dialogue sounds natural, and probably the only thing that remains entertaining about this film is how bad it is. I presume the only reason this has been released in the cinema is because it has Celine Dion in it, and I assume Sony are the ones who distribute her music, and they're the distribution company for this film. However, I go to these media screenings and I often see the reactions of other people on Instagram afterwards, and plenty of people at least said that they enjoyed this, so who knows, maybe there is an audience out there for this film. So that is the end of today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. Bye.